Today we're talking about travel hacks. I am going to give you my holiday tips. And this is really tips for any time of year. Okay. Whether you are fighting an autoimmune condition or you're fighting some sort of a gut issue, you're healing your gut or you have healed your gut, trying to manage your autoimmune condition, your food sensitivities, or your chronic illness, these apply to you. So keep listening. We're going to go through some tips for the planes, the trains, and the automobiles. I haven't ridden on a bus in a very long time. So if you have and you connect with any of these tips, comment below, let us know because I haven't ridden on a bus in a very long time. So I don't really necessarily live in an area where that's something that a lot of people do. Um, it's Dallas and Texas, it's just not a thing here like it is on the East Coast or on the West Coast. So if that is something that you have done, comment below, get in on this conversation, and let's help each other out. All right. At the end of our planes, trains, and automobiles talk, I have 5 tips for you for how I get through vacation, travel, whether it is holidays or summer holidays specifically, because of the stress levels. That's part of the reason I thought it was so important to bring this talk up this time. But I have 5 tips for you, 5 survival tips that not only help me get through my trip and enjoy every single moment of it, but it also helps me come back and not feel exhausted or get sick because I failed to take care of myself. I also do not obsess during my trip. I fully enjoy all of the food within that area, within whatever region I'm in. Granted, obviously dairy free, but I do enjoy it. And you should too. So we're going to go through the planes, trains, and automobiles, and then we'll get to those 5 tips. All right. All right. So with planes and trains, did you know that you can take a water bottle with you? It can't be filled up. It has to be empty when you go through security, but you can take it with you. And most airports have a filtration system that includes a water fill up station. Okay, it's by the restrooms. Usually that there's regulations under how much filtration can be there. Obviously, it is not going to be top of the line water, but you do not need to go inside to an airport and have to buy an $8 bottle of water anymore. You can just bring an empty water bottle, put it inside your carry-on, open the top. So when it goes through, it is very obvious it is empty. And move your way through, go fill it up, and keep walking. Now, considering the fact that there are very few people in the fill up line, this is not a very well known tip. It seems pretty obvious, right? But with all the TSA updates, especially after COVID, you just never know what's acceptable and what's not, especially if you haven't traveled in a while or the holidays are the only time that you do travel. If that's the case, then obviously filling up a water bottle, it's not going to be something you think about. You automatically think, oh, I gotta get through security and buy this damn water. And it's going to cost me a fortune. Because as we know, airport prices, it always does, right? You don't need to worry about that. Get through security, go fill up your water, your bottle at the water filling station. Now, this is an important tool for our 5 tips later. So keep this water bottle in mind. It's going to help you later with the 5 tips I have for you. Another thing that a lot of people aren't aware of is you can bring snacks. You have to put anything liquid up to 3 ounces in that Ziploc bag, right? But if you've packed things like your shampoo, your conditioner, your soap, those little tiny jars, the little like keeper and all that, a lot of them are only 3 ounces. So you could put those in a Ziploc bag. It doesn't necessarily have to be personal belongings. It could be food. You can also make yourself a sandwich. You could make yourself a salad and put it in there and then have 3 ounces of dressing, which technically you want 2 ounces anyway, right? You just have to make sure that liquid is inside your Ziploc baggie. The way you get your food through, you have it in a Tupperware container. You have it in a Ziploc bag. Pack yourself a meal if you are leaving and your travel time includes that time frame for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Pack it. Eat it once you get through security. A lot of times nowadays, what they're doing, and we experienced this when we traveled over Thanksgiving, is they have the dogs out. So rather than having to take all your electronics out, all the food out, everything out, really all they want you to do is drop your bag, put your keys in your wallet and whatever in one of the containers and send it through. The dogs are going to sniff you as you walk through. And if they sense anything, obviously you're going to get stopped and patted down and they'll go through their thing, right? But for the most part, what they're doing is they're using the dogs so that we no longer have to take off our shoes. We no longer have to pull everything out of our bags. We just walk straight through. It's pretty cool. So now those are two great tips. And if you really think about it, obviously the only thing that you would want with food that you've prepared is you're not going to get food that is truly refrigerated, nor are you going to get food that is that you're able to heat up. There isn't a microwave on the other side. So you want to be mindful of that. Pack something that is sustainable, something that could last a little while if you're sitting in security for, a good 45 minutes or an hour. Holiday travel, the lines can get pretty extensive. And because of that, you want to make sure whatever is in your bag is going to be okay if it's sitting in your bag for an hour. Now, if you don't do that and you're planning on buying things once you get through, there's a couple of things to keep in mind, especially with autoimmune and food sensitivities. Okay. One of the things to definitely keep in mind is the fact that once you get through, there are tons of snacks, just like there are in convenience stores. And we'll talk about convenience stores when we get to cars. But these are just like convenience stores. Something that you want to look for, whether you have dairy issues, gluten issues, peanut issues, soy issues, when you go through some of those stores and you're buying snacks, they actually now, in a lot of cases, have dairy-free options. They have gluten-free options. If this is not the case, nuts and seeds, just the raw nuts and the raw seeds, and there are typically some gluten-free crackers now available. Those things are typically found within the stores. So they may not be the most obvious. You might have to look a little bit for that, but they're there. And then this is the coffee, guys. And then oh, what is it called? Oh, it's delicious. Um, I'll have to find it, the link below. There is a dried fruit and nut snack. So Kind bars are found in convenience stores. They're found in the shops and the airports as well. Um, a lot of those are gluten-free and dairy-free. You just have to buy the ones without chocolate. So you get a bar and it doesn't have chocolate in it. It's cool. It works. You're not gonna be traveling a lot. So for temporary periods, it's cool. And it's sweet. And the thing with food on planes, and trains not so much, but the food on planes, when you're up in the air, your taste buds are they're not masked, but that altitude does something to food that makes it very bland, like bland to the point that it tastes like cardboard sometimes. So you've got to be careful when you're eating. If at all possible, eat before you get on the plane. If that's not possible, if it's just timing, it's not going to work, or you're you're like my wonderful husband who woke up late and barely missed his flight. He did get on, he got on, but it was literally a run through the airport and run right on the plane. Um, so he got there for Thanksgiving, but it was close. It was close. So if that is the situation, obviously this advice does not apply. But if at all possible, have your food in the airport. It will taste so much better. Even if it's you're getting off the plane and you get your baggage and you sit down and you eat before you go get your rental car or before you take the shuttle. Just don't stress about the fact that you know what you need to eat and you need food and you brought it with you, so hop a squat, eat your food. If you need to eat it in the plane, just know that anything you put on it, it's gonna taste pretty bland, and it has everything to do with the altitude. Has nothing to do with your cooking, the place is cooking. Doesn't have anything to do with that. It has everything to do with the altitude. There have been scientific studies fully associated with this, um, and they have found that there really isn't much of anything that you can do about it. They have prepared food in all different ways, and there's just not much you can do about it. With trains usually just have like that little eating section, like sometimes they'll, if it's a longer duration train, they'll have food available to you. But most times it's just like a little convenience store. If you have any issues, they're really not going to have a lot for you. They might have seeds and nuts, they might have a kind bar or two, that would work out well. So if you're traveling by train, just make sure you pack food, you pack snacks, you pack stuff that you can eat, because you just don't know what they're going to serve. I found that every train is a little bit different, and some of them will serve you a five-course meal. Like they're amazing. They have this dining car, and it's got everything in it. And then you have the others that really aren't that nice. They aren't that high end. So you want to bring your own food. Um, with car travel. So let's say you're traveling by car, you're taking a road trip. That happens to a lot of families over the holidays. Very expensive to fly or take a train with your children, right? And if you have more than two, um, kudos because we just traveled the two, and my goodness gracious, we got lucky with the sales that we found, but it is very expensive. So most families choose to travel by car. Now, when you travel by car, there are areas of the country where the only thing available is a convenience store or fast food. Especially for those of you, this is especially for those of you with autoimmune conditions, chronic illness, or food sensitivities, intolerances like mine that have not gone away and are not going away. Okay. There is a website called justallergythings.com. It lists all fast food. And I think it's an all-inclusive list of everything in the country, or in the US. And it gives you a link to that restaurant, right? To that fast food place, to tell you what is gluten-free, what is soy-free. It goes through the 8 allergens. It's pretty intense. They have a lot of information in there. It's very comprehensive. It is a great website to have handy. There used to be apps, but I have not seen one recently that works as well as this website does. They keep it up to date. So far, I've not had any issues with it. So let me know if you go and you use it and you do. All right. Well, we want to put a warning out to people. But for me, it works out really well. And there's a couple of things I found with dairy, gluten, and soy. All right. First and foremost, Pluckers is off. Pluckers has soy in everything, but I think they're French fries. It's been a couple years since I looked, but you basically can't have any of their wings. That's out. They're just packed full of soy. So if that's an issue that you have, that's a restaurant you want to avoid. Obviously, that's not fast food. That's more of just a family restaurant, but that's one of them. Chick-fil-A recently put out a notification that while they are fixing it, they do have dairy in pretty much everything. Their grilled nuggets for a little while had dairy in them as well because of production. Something had changed and shifted. It used to be that the grilled nuggets were dairy free. Um, and it's been a few months, but I think the last time I was there was like August, and there was a notification that I sent to all of my clients that stated that there's dairy in both their grilled as well as their regular chicken nuggets and chicken fingers and things like that. So just be wary, be careful. The places I found that are very helpful to me, Burger King and Whataburger. And I'm looking, yeah, Burger King and Whataburger. And In-N-Out. A lot of you aren't gonna want to eat it. In-N-Out, the burgers have soy in them, so that's a difference with In-N-Out. But outside of the soy, dairy-free, for the most part, gluten-free. If you have celiac, I would definitely avoid fast food altogether, and those nuts and seeds in the convenience store, that is the way to go. Packed food, use coolers. The Yeti coolers and the styles like that can really preserve food well in that cooler. Heating food up might be a bit challenging, but usually road trips are like a day, maybe a day and a half. Sometimes if you're like rock star road tripping, it's 2 days. But in those cases, you've got grocery stores you need to hit along the way, and I promise you, it is well worth stopping at the grocery store. You don't have to stop at a convenience store unless you're in the middle of the country where there's like desolation. And in that case, nuts and seeds, and a lot of times dried fruit, or they'll have like the little containers of just regular fruit now, and they don't put anything on it. They might put some citrus on it to preserve it and keep the color, but that's about it. So you're pretty safe with the fruit in the cups in the convenience store. You're safe with potato chips. Not your norm. I know it's fine. It's food. Sometimes that's what you need. Nuts, seeds, dried fruit, they're all available there. They typically will have trail mix, and those things are top notch. They give you a little bit of sweet, they give you a little bit of salty, and they satisfy the crunch and the chewy, as well as the salt cravings and the sweet cravings. A lot of those things happen when you're on road trips or you're traveling because you just get bored and you're done with traveling and you want to be done with your trip, right? You just want to get there. Now, that's for cars, for that's for planes, trains, and automobiles. So, just to reiterate these and summarize them for you, bring your own snacks, pack them, make sure they're sustainable and realistic for your trip. So you can get through security with ease without worrying about it. You can survive your road trip without worrying about it, your train ride, whatever the case may be, right? Make sure you're keeping yourself hydrated. And this is actually number one on my tip of five. So we'll talk about this in a second too. Make sure you're keeping yourself hydrated. So bring your water bottle, fill it up on the other side of security. I believe trains are exactly the same way. If not, you can typically stop at one of the shops in the train station to get free water out of their filtration system, their soda system. Is it the all-time best? No, but your alternatives are fill it up in the filtration system or buy a bottle of water. Your choice. And it's your trip, so your choice. Um, Make sure to eat your food when it tastes the best. Otherwise, you just kind of feel like you wasted it. If you have to, eat it in the plane. It's fine. It'll work out. You're getting nourishment. You're getting healthy nourishment, even though your taste buds might not clue into that fact. One of the things to be mindful with that is a lot of times in that instance, it'll trigger cravings that actually are not realistic. So if you eat while you're on the plane and you're up in the air, just know that you might come down to have a little sweet craving or a little salt craving. Have a handful of nuts or a handful of dried fruit or, a piece of fruit. You'll be fine. It'll go away. Um, so that's your three. All right. Pack your own, hydrate, bring your own water bottle, and just be mindful. And know that regardless of where you stop nowadays, there will be something there in an emergency that you can eat. You just might have to look a little harder for it. Okay. Now, here are your 5 tips to keep your sanity, to not stress as much, and to actually just enjoy the holiday without coming back sick, coming back tired, coming back feeling like you just exhausted yourself, which nobody wants. You want to go and enjoy the time that you have with your loved ones, whatever the trip is. If it's not with loved ones, but it's to a cool place. My aunt and uncle went to, uh, I think it's the Grand Cayman Islands over Thanksgiving. I mean, what a way to spend Thanksgiving. It's awesome. So if you're doing something like that, these are things that will help there too. All right. So very first is to stay well hydrated. Up in planes, riding in a train, that stagnant air, and even in cars, you can get the air moving in cars, but that stagnant air dehydrates you. So make sure if you are suffering from dehydration or it's something that chronic illnesses a lot of times will trigger dehydration. So if that's something that you struggle managing or you have to be very mindful of managing on a day-to-day basis, having an electrolyte. You only need 4 to 6 ounces, and literally you could take lemonade, put a pinch of salt in it. Something sweet, add a pinch of salt. Coconut water, pickle. Let me see. Um, Brined olive. Found out recently. Brined olive. So things like that are natural electrolytes. You don't have to go and buy an electrolyte drink. I believe there's a water out that actually has electrolyte in it. I know it's spark water, but there's a couple more of them now. But those will work too. You only really need 4 ounces of it, and that will help you stay hydrated, especially while traveling. If this is the case, if this is something that's a challenge for you, drinking the electrolyte while you're up in the plane or while you're in the middle of traveling, that's a win-win, you guys. That is a win-win. You also want to make sure you are not overdoing the hydration. So pay attention to your urine, pay attention to your pee, pay attention to your sweat, pay attention to your skin to make sure that you aren't peeing too much, that the color of your urine, the smell, that there's no smell, that there's no odor, that it doesn't look like water, it's very pale yellow. Your skin, you're not excessively sweating unless it's really hot. We have no control over that. That you have moistened skin, something that's dewy, not dry, not too moist. It doesn't feel mushy. Okay, you look dewy, you look alert and alive and awake, right? You can track the amount of water that you use using the water bottle that you bring with you. So you know how much is in your water bottle, or get through security, buy a bottle of water. You have your ounces there. All right. Number two, drink either cold pressed juices every day or a green smoothie or veggie soup, something along those lines. You want about 8 ounces of it once a day. That makes sure, or that basically guarantees that no matter what you do, you get your veggies in for that day. The green juice is the only reason I would ever recommend a green juice is it's an infusion. It's a massive infusion of micronutrients. Raw, cold pressed green juices can have a lot of fructose in them, and they can have a lot of that simple sugar broken down because you've pressed it out of the plant. Okay. The only reason you would drink a raw cold pressed juice on trip is massive infusion of micronutrients. That's why juice cleanses are so powerful, is because it basically just inundates and overloads your system with these micronutrients. So your body gets enough of it no matter what. They're easily digestible. They can flow through your body very quickly and get into your bloodstream and get where your body needs it. It's an excellent tool on trips because you're in a new area with people you might not have seen for a while. So their environments, the things that they carry with them throughout the world, if they've been exposed to something, you're also putting that excessive micronutrient within your system to help you fight off anything that you encounter on your trip. Okay. So kind of a double whammy, but raw cold pressed green juices, veggie soup, or a green smoothie every day. My all-time recommendation is either the green smoothie or the veggie soup. But if you have to get a cold pressed juice, drink it. Important. Drink it. All right. Number three, look at veggies and fruit first after an indulgence. So you've indulged in whatever your favorite food is, holiday meal, celebration, whatever the case is. Whatever you eat or drink after that, look at the fruits and vegetable content first. So if you're in a restaurant, look for the dishes that may not necessarily be salad. You don't have to have a salad. You could have, some sort of protein and a veggie side. And if it's a dish that comes with like mashed potatoes or rice or whatever, you just double up the vegetables. It's it's that simple. And even if you want that carbohydrate side, the grain side or the starchy side, double up your veggies anyway. You'll still be able to enjoy it. And when that plate comes, eat the veggies and the protein first, and then eat the grain or starch. You'll still get to enjoy it, but by that time, you'll have fueled your body first with a good solid protein and some fruits or vegetables with micronutrient infusion. Right. Number 4, be realistic and mindful. No guilt here. All right. No guilt. Holidays are for enjoyment. They happen once a year. Okay. And in a lot of families, this is the only time they get together. Okay. For those of you out there that only get together once a year and this is the time, don't waste it trying to obsess over everything else. Put a couple of things in place that are just easy to do, right? And then go about your day. Enjoy your time. Do whatever you normally do when you're on this trip or when you're with these people. Be realistic. Be mindful. Do not obsess. Obsessing causes stress. We're trying to reduce stress, increase enjoyment. Right? All right. And number 5 is when you travel, rather than taking lemon and ginger with you or peppermint with you or anything else that you would normally at home have as your infusion first thing in the morning, use tea bags. There are now fruit teas in tea bags. Lemon ginger tea is in tea bags. Yogi tea has a ton of options. They're easy to pack. They don't take any room and they weigh next to nothing. So you really don't have to worry about any liquids in your bags. You just have these tea bags, and all you need is a cup of hot water. And actually, technically, you can put your tea bag into a cold cup of water and let it steep overnight, and you'll still get those properties. Some of the herbals or some of the herbs, their constituents are not released unless there's some heating involved. But if you're traveling and you only have cold water, just do it. Put it in the cold water, let it sit for an hour or two, and then enjoy it. All right? Nothing wrong with that. So let's go over these 5 real quick again. All right, just so we can summarize it, you can have it all in one place. So here's my 5 hacks for traveling over the holiday. Stay well hydrated. Use your own water bottle. Track your water, however is easy to do so. Have either raw cold pressed green juice, green smoothie, or veggie soup every single day, at least once a day. After an indulgence, look for veggies and fruit. That's where your focus should be on is veggies and fruit in your next meal. Enjoy the indulgence and then find some fruits and veggies to eat. Be realistic and mindful without obsessing. Okay. And then finally, whatever you would normally drink first thing in the morning to help your body wake up, whether it's lemon ginger water, peppermint water, cucumber, anything like that, berries, grab the tea bags. Use the tea bags rather than the regular fruit, especially if you're in a car or you're somewhere that you're traveling and you just don't have a lot of space and can't afford to put a lot of weight into your bags. There's your 5 tips. So I hope these holiday hacks help you guys. If you have any questions, as usual, you know where to find me. We're going to keep this going next week with some tips on how to travel or how to transition from holidays into the new year. And then we've got a good doozy for you coming up in a couple of weeks, starting in January. So I will chat with you guys later. Have a wonderful week. Bye, guys.